The Philippine military, with hundreds of thousands of troops, attack aircrafts, warships, and light tanks, makes them one of the strongest in Southeast Asia. Furthermore, the Philippine military is built on centuries of conflicts. Stretching back to the Spanish rule to American and Japanese occupations, it has helped form the country's strength today. But is that really true? Is the Philippine Army truly a formidable force? To understand this, let us first understand the size of its military, its equipment, and what official reports have to say. But before that, let us first understand a quick history of why the Philippine military has a huge amount of experience. The Philippine military had played a significant part in the Second World War. They fought against Japanese occupation, which became one of the most important histories in the Philippines. By 1946, the Philippines' independence, the military saw a drastic organizational change and restructuring. Post-World War II, internal security became its biggest issue. Several guerrilla groups rose. Some of the most famous armed groups came from communist insurgents. The New People's Army Rebellion had been in the country for decades. At the same time, the Philippines also engaged in the Korean War, which saw Philippine Army troops with boots on the ground. Fidel V. Ramos, who eventually became the president of the country, was one of those soldiers who fought for South Korea. The Philippines military has also contributed to several international peacekeeping missions under the United Nations. These have all helped produce valuable lessons leading to adaptations in military strategy, training, and equipment. As the 21st century began, domestic issues continued, mostly hailing from Mindanao. However, peace talks have expanded, which brought laws and deals such as the Bangsamoro Organic Law and Comprehensive Agreement on the Bangsamoro to happen. In 2023, several reports from the armed forces came out, citing that some groups, such as the NPA, had no more active guerrilla fronts. A huge turn as the Philippines continues to erase domestic troubles. Now let us move on from that quick history and start off with the actual name of the country's military, the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The AFP for short, it consists of three main branches: the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy. These three serve under the Commander-in-Chief, which is also the President of the Philippines, Bongbong Marcos, followed by the Secretary of National Defense, which is currently Gilberto Teodoro, then the Chief of Staff, General Romeo Bronner, and the long list of chain of command goes on. The leadership aside, the AFP is also bolstered by a substantial annual budget. The defense sector is expected to receive 282.7 billion pesos in 2024, higher than the 203.4 billion pesos in 2023. In US dollars, that means the 2024 budget will be about $5 billion, which is quite lower than Thailand at $5.8 billion in 2023, Vietnam at $6.2 billion, and Indonesia at $8.8 billion. Only Malaysia is lower at $2.6 billion. Nevertheless, defense spending is not the sole indicator for a country's military strength. Let us discuss now each branch, starting with the Army. The Army has about 100,000 active members, backed by an additional 100,000 reserve troops. The Army is then backed by a tremendous number of equipment. The Army's military vehicles include the Sabra light tank, designed by Israel-based Elbit Systems, the M113, an armored personnel carrier, the Kia KM450 series, a tactical military vehicle, a number of commercial and utility vehicles, which mostly come from either Japan or the United States. They also operate artillery, some of which are self-propelled mortars, towed mortars, and traditional mortars. Some of these surprisingly came from Israel. The Army also operates a number of aerial and watercrafts, but the most important equipment of the military lies in its modernly upgraded communication equipment. The Elbit Systems Combat NG, which is a computer-based fire control and command system, is installed in many of the Army's missiles and weaponry. Following the Army, the Air Force comes second. It has around 33,500 members and 169 aircraft, with most of them ready for operation. This includes 26 attack units, 18 transport units, 24 trainers, 3 special mission aircraft, and 98 helicopters. Some of the most sophisticated jets include the Kai T-50 from South Korea, to the OV-10 Bronco from the United States, the Hermes 450 and 900 from Israel, and MD-500 from the US. The Air Force also boasts a number of air defense equipment. The Spider surface-to-air missiles from Israel has been one of the most advanced in the country. Throughout the life of the Air Force, they have also retired several aircraft, mostly from the US, such as the P-51 Mustang and the Northrop F-5. Lastly, we must never forget about the Navy. The Philippines is an archipelago country composed of thousands of islands. This gives the Navy the biggest responsibility of all. The Navy has about 25,000 members and several vessels, the most famous of which is the Jose Rizal-class frigate, originating from South Korea's Hyundai Heavy Industries, followed by the Conrado Yap-class corvette, also from South Korea. The Navy also stated that they will acquire a submarine in the future. Some manufacturers who propose plans are the likes of South Korea's Hanwha Ocean, which briefed the Army about the Jangbogo-class submarine. Now, these 3 branches make up the entire AFP. In total, there are about 250,000 Army personnel, including 100,000 active, another 100,000 reserve, and 50,000 paramilitary forces. But we should not forget that these are just the 3 main branches. Each branch has its own units, from military intelligence to medical services, and so much more. So let us then answer the question of today's video. Just how strong is the Philippine military? Well, for starters, several websites offer a clue. For instance, the annual Global Firepower Report showed that the Philippine military is the 32nd most powerful in the entire world. It talks about how the Philippines has 48 million available military manpower, which is available due to the military age requirement and fit for military service. It also stated that the Philippines is ranked 28th in reserves, or simply put, that the Philippines has one of the highest portions of personnel considered under reserve status. They also ranked the Philippines 16th and 14th in both frigates and corvettes. 16th on frigates due to the number of frigate warships, and 14th on corvettes due to its strength. These may somehow showcase just how strong the military is, yet obviously in real battles things may take shape differently. The problems of the Philippine military, however, is that it is very reliant on overseas military equipment. Much of the advanced military systems of the Philippines come from the US, Japan, South Korea, and Israel. This is where the Philippine military falls off. However, that does not mean the future is dark. The Philippines is one of the largest shipbuilders in the entire world. This is a huge potential for the country in building its own warships. There have been calls recently from officials and the private sector alike to create its own warship manufacturing companies. If this is done, then it puts the Philippine military strength higher by a lot. The second problem is that the Philippine military is still budget constrained. Despite recent increases, the defense budget of the Philippines remains relatively modest compared to regional peers. This limits the military's ability to modernize, acquire new technology, and maintain existing equipment. Thirdly, while the military stated that some insurgents and guerrilla groups have slowly died down, there are still a huge array of internal security threats in the Philippines. The country still has a huge cartel, illegal smuggling, and there are also possibilities that a new armed group may arise. Finally, and most importantly, is corruption. The AFP has a history of corruption dating back to the martial law era under President Ferdinand Marcos. During this time, military officials were reportedly involved in various corrupt practices, including embezzlement of funds and involvement in illegal activities. There have been instances where defense budgets and funds have been misallocated or misused. This includes procurement scandals where military equipment was overpriced or funds were diverted for personal gain. The Pabayan system scandals, where outgoing military chiefs allegedly received large sums of money, highlighted deep-rooted corruption practices within the organization. Some members of the AFP have also been accused of involvement in illegal activities such as smuggling, illegal logging, and even colluding with insurgent groups. In recent years, there are still some corruption cases. Former President Rodrigo Duterte in 2018 even fired over 20 military officials for corruption. A mix of issues for sure, yet still a lot of opportunities. So just how big is the Philippine military really? It has its own pros and cons, however, there are still a lot of problems that need to be fixed. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.